Washington County, 9 cities, 3 nonprofit associations, all who work together to provide excellent countywide public library service. At Libraries of Washington County, we understand the power of the written word and access to information in the lives of the communities that we serve. The Art of the Story Festival really complements this mission by fostering an appreciation for the role that oral storytelling plays within families, communities, and cultures. Tonight, we're here to celebrate the power of the spoken word and how the simple act of sharing stories can be a unifying force in our communities. The festival's Story Slam for students and adults opened up the opportunity for more community stories, and we're excited to have the student and adult winners of those events here with us tonight. We're also thrilled to have 3 amazing professional storytellers who have delivered performances at libraries, schools, cultural centers, and a senior center in Washington County over the past 2 weeks. So this is a reminder to please take a moment to silence your cell phones. And let's also acknowledge the community partners who support this festival and help us deliver these amazing free events. We receive grants from the Regional Arts and Culture Council, Recology, and Friends of Library groups across the county, including the Sherwood Friends. In-kind services were provided by the Pamplin Media Group, which publishes the local Sherwood Gazette, as well as the Courtyard by Marriott, the Sherwood Center for the Arts, the beautiful Sherwood Center for the Arts, the Walters Cultural Arts Center, the Tualatin Hills Parks and Recreation District, Smockville Brew House, Arts and Communication Magnet Academy, and Sash TV. I also want to recognize our library staff who work so hard to organize this festival. Would the Art of the Story Festival Committee please stand? They have contributed a ton of talent and energy throughout the year to coordinate this celebration, and their work is what makes this festival so great. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I hope you enjoy the program. I'd like to turn it over now to Sean Garland, Council President for the City of Sherwood and an awesome library supporter.
We're playing a song for you later tonight. No, thank you, Lisa. The Sherwood Public Library is pleased to host the festival finale in the Sherwood Center for the Arts, including complimentary hors d'oeuvres and beverages you've been enjoying, provided by the Reedville Catering at our local Smockville Brew House right next door. Thank you, WCCLS, the Friends of the Sherwood Library, and the Sherwood Center for the Arts for making this possible. If this is your first visit to our community, welcome. Sherwood has grown a lot in the last 10 years. Sherwood Public Library now hosts over 600 programs and events a year, and is less than a block from here. It's right across the street over there. We invite you to our upcoming Chinese Lion Dance on Saturday, May 19th at 1 p.m. This is also the second time Sherwood is hosting the finale for the WCCLS Art of the Story Festival. The first time was in 2015, shortly after this beautiful Sherwood Center for the Arts was opened. So I was really pleased to be invited to come and speak here tonight. I have 2 daughters, ages 10 and 8, and they are voracious readers. We almost always have about 5 books on reserve at the library at any time. These girls will tear through books. So my oldest daughter, Isabel, the 10-year-old, she is our storyteller. And so what she does is she collaborates on books with 3 of her classmates online through Google Docs. They all get together and write stories online collaboratively. And they've actually already written 4 novels already. So I'm really hoping that someday my daughter Isabel will be up here telling some stories. So it's kind of funny. I think some kids beg their parents for time to play video games. My daughter begs us for time to get on the computer so she can write her next novel. So I'm very thankful for the Sherwood Library, WCCLS, and everybody here, for encouraging a love of reading with our kids and writing and encouraging our kids to explore their creativity. I would also be remiss if I did not also thank the many staff and volunteers who worked to put this event together. Can we get another round of applause? There are programs available to you to help you follow along with tonight's festivities. Please note that an evaluation form will also be distributed, and we do value your feedback to help us plan for the next festival. Our Masters of Ceremony will be Heather Weissman and Blaine Ross. I hope you enjoy the program. Take it away, Heather and Blaine.
Oh, guys, we're all saying not another talking head. Thank you, Sean. Are you sure she's writing a novel on the computer? Because I know my kid is watching video games. Okay, so a couple of quick things. I know you mentioned the survey. You can get the survey after the show. It's right out here. We can hand it to you. It's helpful if you fill it out. It helps us make decisions about the festival future and the future types of tellers we get. Also, we're going to have a short intermission. It'll be about 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll be after Habiba, so be ready for that. So as he told you, this year we did a ACMA, Story Slam at ACMA, the Arts and Communication Magnet Academy. We had 3 amazing young ladies tell stories, and they all did a wonderful job. We had 3 storytellers pick someone to go forward. She's here with us tonight, and she's here on her prom night. So she's making room for you people on prom night, but she's not going to hang around because she's got prom to go. So her name is Evelyn Nelson. She's a senior at Arts and Communication Magnet Academy. Her main interests include theater, writing, and she serves as the student body president at the school. Are you the prom queen too, Evelyn? No, she's not. She will be going to college in the fall, but she's not sure where yet, so maybe there's some scouts here. Her favorite place to go is Detroit Lake State Park. Here she is telling Detroit Lake. Everyone else?
When I was a kid, the place to be when we would get out of school for summer vacation was Detroit Lake State Park here in Oregon. My mom and my dad would load my brother and I up into our big red Jeep, and we would drive. It's about an hour and a half east in the middle of nowhere to get there. And we would always rent the same spot every year in the A-Loop, because the A-Loop was right on the water. And we would bother my parents the whole way there. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? As kids do, we're obnoxious. But when we finally got there, my brother and I would jump out of the car and we would head for the docks with our coolers full of lemonade and my brother's guitar and books and towels, ready to be out there in the sun. And so the entirety of A-Loop is framed by these 2 great docks. One of them that allowed fun stuff like boating and swimming and fishing, and the one that me and my brother went to, which was the other dock. And we would sit on this dock and I would read and he would play guitar, and we would sit in the sun and we would argue and we would sing camp songs, and we would just for a minute sit in the sun, letting the dock wash up and down beneath our stomachs, and just be there in that moment. And I don't know if any of you have ever been to Detroit Lake State Park, but it is beautiful. It's this great big blue lake that's made by this man-made dam that they did about, I think, 50 years ago. And it's surrounded by these rolling hills covered in evergreens. The only way you can differentiate the trees is by the very tips of them. And they're like soldiers just all across the water. And behind them you can see Mount Hood and Mount Jefferson and Mount St. Helens, the reinforcements in the back. It's the very picture of what an Oregon summer should be. Last summer, though, the lake went dry. My dad and I went anyway. My brother couldn't make it for one reason or another. I think he was a little disappointed by the fact that there was no lake to go to. I don't think my father and I quite believed it was gone, so we packed into the camper, we went all the way down, and when we got there, we got into the A-Loop, and there were just dunes of sand over this place that was so familiar to me. I knew, though, as soon as I got out of the camper that there had to be water somewhere, and we were going to find it. So I put on my tennis shoes, and we made the trek up and down what seemed like miles and miles of sand, with just these kind of cryptic tree trunks, just from where they had cut down trees so that they could dam it down. And they looked less like trunks and more like teeth. And you could see all the garbage that had been left behind by boaters, just weathered by the sun and old. And it was like another planet. But after a couple miles of walking, it felt like, we finally made it to the water, and it was just like this little pond in the middle, and people were still fishing in there because there were tons of fish still in the water. It was kind of sad, actually. It was literally shooting fish in a barrel. I was just watching this, and I couldn't look at it any longer because it made me sad. And I closed my eyes, and the thing that really caught me was the fact that it still smelled like it had always smelled, like lake water and sunshine and summertime. So a little dejectedly, my dad and I went back. We made a fire and found that it was a lot easier to pretend that the lake was still there when the sun had gone down. And that's when my dad started talking about things that I didn't quite understand. I don't think I really wanted to. I was more content to watch the smoke swirl up through the tops of the trees and breathe in the nighttime sky. We went to bed on opposite sides of the camper that night, and by the time I woke up, we had already gotten on the road. When we got home, I did not notice my dad leave the house for the last time, leaving his key on the counter as he went. I don't know if my dad told my brother he was going to leave. I don't know if he had to. As the days and the weeks conveyor belted by, I learned how to drive, and my brother learned how to cook, and neither of us knew how to talk about it. But pretty soon, through the window of my living room, I could see the sunlight trickle through the blinds. When I saw the sun again, I packed a cooler and my brother's guitar, and I brought him to Detroit Lake State Park. It's about 100 miles and an hour drive to get there to the east. There was one day spot left in the A-loop, and as we got out, we took our coolers and his guitar and my books and the towels, and we rushed to the docks. And we sat there, and we played camp songs and basked in the summer, and the lake was back. A little shallower than we had remembered it, but it was there. And just for a moment, we were kids again. Thank you.
Already started, she was in a hurry there. She did a great job. I'm sure there's a few misty eyes out there. I've already heard the story, so I was ready. So our next performer, I get to put a little plug in here for the Adult Story Slam. This is our 4th one this year at the Beaverton Library. And we keep getting really good tellers who aren't quite professional. They dabble. And they do a great job, and the audience gets to pick the winner. How many people were at the slam? Oh, good. Oh, quite a few of the voting public. Thank you for coming. Anyway, it was a tough choice, and it was a very close vote this year, but the winner this year is with us. It's Kristen Nelson Huddle. And, yep. Who's over there cheering? I thought I knew her husband. He's here too. Ray Huddle's her husband. But you'll see why she got here on her own. She always knew she wanted to be an actress. She went to a free acting intro and ended up doing weird improv theater for a few years. That turned into a performance troupe, the Tuesday Group, which turned into the monthly variety show, Scratch PDX. On her own, she put together a solo show she performed with Portland Story Theater single-handedly, the One Fest, Orlando Fringe, and also as an independent production. She has been on stage at the local Moth, Portland Story Theater's Valentine's Show, the Mystery Box Show, and nevertheless, we persist. Most recently, she won the prestigious kickoff slam for our Storytime Festival at the Beaverton Library. She also happens to be married to Ray Huddle and the mother of beautiful twin boys. Here she is telling, what? Oh, I'm so sorry. Here she is telling Reliant Kid.
I consider myself about 40% nudist. I mean, I'm not ready to go join the colony. I wouldn't say I'm a purebred, but I love places like Brighton Bush and Oregon Country Fair, and I'll even model for a life drawing class once in a while. At the Oregon Country Fair, there's this place called the Ritz, and it's the bathhouse. It's where you go to clean up after a long day walking around the fair, and they have showers there, and it's sort of like a gym, except this place is beautiful. It's a wood building with no roof, and so it's open to the sky and the trees that grow above it. There's a fire pit. It's huge. It sits like 30 people around it, and a stage with a grand piano. They don't skimp here. It's a nice place. And I took a steamy shower in community with my species, and we were all enjoying the elements, the fire, the water, the air, the wood, somebody playing guitar. And I didn't bring a towel, so I put myself in front of the fire to dry off. And I turned around to dry my backside. And when I came back toward the fire, I had this odd feeling that everybody was looking at me. And then somebody said, "Tell us about your tattoo." Oh, yeah. So I have a word tattooed over my rear. It says, Reliant K. And I do love the opportunity to tell a story. So there I was, in all my glory. Once upon a time, there was a man named Lee Iacocca, and he ran a very large corporation named Chrysler. Now, Chrysler was in financial crisis, but Lee Iacocca had an idea. It was 1981, and previously, for 40 years, all car companies made their cars with an H-frame. 2 wheels in front connected with a bar, 2 wheels in back connected with a bar, and a bar going across the middle to connect the 2 bars. It looks like the letter H. And he said, "We will build a K-frame." Well, this keeps the bar in front, but then you have a bar going directly to the back left and directly to the back right, so it branches out like the letter K. And everybody went, "Oh." And then he said, "It's less material. Ask the geometry department." So, less material in the production line means less cost. And less material in the car means a lighter car, so better mileage. He said, "I will call it the Reliant K." He was so confident that it would pull Chrysler out of debt that he said he would take his salary down to $1 for an entire year if he got a loan to build the car. And the investors went for it. They built millions of K cars and millions of Americans bought them, and it did indeed bring Chrysler out of financial crisis. Well, I was feeling pretty good about the story I told, but my nudie beauties, my astute Oregon Country Fair audience, they knew that something was missing. Even though I was totally exposed, I had still not revealed everything. And so I got called out. And somebody said, "The Reliant K saved Chrysler's ass. Did it save yours?" I was scared. And it was too intimate. The tattoo I had was only a few years old. And honestly, I was still ashamed of my past. And so all I said was, "Yep." Years before the tattoo, I wouldn't consider myself a gutter punk, but I was hanging out with a lot of people who did. And we thought we owned Portland. We would sneak into bars to listen to live music play. We would steal boxed wine and walk around the streets at night and drink it. I wore my hair in dreadlocks, and I would tie it up above my head, and it would stick out like a crown. I had a message for the world, and it was F you. And I wasn't afraid to say it. We were always working on getting high, or getting drunk, or getting stoned. And I had a friend of mine, he was living in my car. A couple of my friends picked up a pretty regular heroin habit, and I remember that moment when I said, "I want to play." And, I didn't even try to find my own vein. I had to have somebody else shoot it into my arm for me. Another friend, he drove a K car. He had a Reliant K. And we actually thought it was funny because it was the 90s, and to us at this point, it sort of seemed like a grandma car. And, we could fit 3 of us across the front in the bench seat, and we just got a kick of driving around town. I sat by the door, and right in front of me was the emblem, and I can picture it so clearly today in block letters, in chrome. It says, Reliant K. And it somehow resonated with me. And whatever was happening in the car, I was just focused on this emblem. And it was like, something was opening up inside me. Even though my life was a mess, I was still about to graduate from massage school. And I really wanted to travel the world and work in resorts, to live and work in paradise around the world. That was what I wanted to do with my massage license. And I knew I couldn't do it carrying on the way that I was. And so I was at a crossroads. I could continue life the way I had created it in Portland, or I could become the Reliant K and become a reliable, self-driven person with dreams. Then something happened. I met a guy who needed to practice using his tattoo gun. So I went for it. I got the tattoo. I graduated from massage school. I got out of town. I got off drugs. And I got a job in Mexico working as a masajista. It was fun. I wonder if that person sitting there in that Reliant K car would recognize this person today, 20 years into my commitment to being the Reliant K. Today, I'm in a kick-ass marriage. I have twin 1-year-olds, and it is miraculous to be a witness to their development and to nurture their curiosities. I run. I go to bed before 10 p.m. Today, my message to the world is love. I love myself. I love my history. I love all of you. And I want to thank you for sharing this intimate moment with me, even though we all have our clothes on.
I'm pleased to introduce our next teller, Habiba Ado. I've known Habiba for several years. I met her when she first presented with us several years ago. And she always brings a great warmth, humor, and energy to her performance. So if you have never seen her, you are in for a treat. And even if you have already seen her, you're in for a treat. So I'm gonna invite her to come up here. And please join me in welcoming Habiba Ado as she presents In Memoriam.
Suwayo mama Kenya, ejo dala Kenya wo, bala suwayo mama Kenya wo, ejo dala Kenya wo. Fritz, my little brother, and his mother are my family. We are not blood related. We chose each other. Our family is carved and molded, fashioned with love. My auntie and I were very, very lucky because every year we love each other more, we get closer and closer, and every year we appreciate each other more and more. We talk often. We laugh, we gossip, we cry, we console each other. Sometimes we talk about Fritz. She'll tell me how Fritz is doing, what he's up to, what he's done well, and what has been challenging for him. And sometimes she would ask me to talk to Fritz, coax him, urge him in a way that would ease his path in life. I remember the first time I saw baby Fritz. Over all the cooing, I strained, and I took a peek, and I caught my breath. On his baby scalp lay burgundy curls, seemed to be placed there by a meticulous angel. The spacing between each curl almost perfect. Baby Fritz grew, and something always remained with him. He was almost unsatiated with life. He hurried and seemed to swallow chunks of life. I would take him and my nieces to the beach in Ghana. And always Fritz would ask for one more ride. Sister Habiba, one more drink, please. One more plate. Later on, one more. But he'd never fight me when at last I would say, no more. Fritz, as an adult, he took me to two beaches I had never been before. Fritz also gave me more. He never seemed to mind sharing his mother's love with me. In fact, I think that he appreciated and respected our friendship. Sometimes when he was frustrated with her and he had an argument, he'd come to me saying, go talk to her, she listens to you. Go talk to her, she will listen to you. And I'll say calmly, okay, I will talk to her. Sometimes I'd feel guilty that I was taking too much of his mother's love from him. But Fritz, in his own way, without telling me, would teach and remind me that there's always plenty of love to go around. No worries. In the last 2 years, Fritz, 2016 and 2017, he'd become a bona fide young man. He had arrived at a new chapter, and his path was clear before him. He opened a small neighborhood restaurant called Fantastic. His mother talked about it. She told me how hard he worked. She was so proud of him. So last year, in November, I went home. November 17th, home to Ghana. And on November 20th, my little brother Fritz was killed by a crash. Fritz was yanked out of our lives. His mother lost her great love, her 29-year-old son, her only child. In passing, Fritz gifted everyone. He gifted me more family and more friends. He challenged me to deepen the way I love and give nourishment to others. I hope that now I am loving in a more generous way, in a more quiet way. Now, now, sumomi ne fomie. Chata, chata, sumomi ne fomie. Now, now, sumomi ne fomie. Chata, chata, sumomi ne fomie. Mi fegini magoma toshi palo, ninkele yape. Aye, nyawo, nyawo, chata, chata, oh. Nyawo, nyawo, chata, chata, oh. Nyawo, nyawo, sumomi ne fomie. Chata, chata, sumomi ne fomie. Up on a hill, near the Liberian rainforest, overlooking the Kalahari River, was a village of Kundi. Its rice and cassava fields stretched in all directions, and cattle grazed in the grassland near the river. Smoke from the round playhouses seeped through palm leaf roofs, and from a distance, the faint columns of smoke seemed to hover over the village. Men and boys fished in the river with nets, and women pounded grains in wooden mortars before their houses. In this village, with his wife and many children, was a hunter by the name of Ugarusa. One day,